Uganda's parliament has passed a bill which would criminalise people who identify as LGBTQ.
People who identify as gay in Uganda risk life in prison after Parliament passed a new bill to crack down on homosexual activities.
The anti-homosexuality bill passed by Uganda's parliament earlier this week proposes the death penalty for the offence of aggravated homosexuality.
In our country, we will have our morals, we will protect our children, and we are making this law, for ourselves, we are making this law for our children, we are making this law for the children of our children. Homosexuals have no space in Uganda.
Hi everyone, my name is Steve Courage. Right on this page, you can find a list of sanctions and punishment the almighty United States had already dished out for Uganda just because Uganda said no to homosexuality. We are coming back to that in a moment. For now, let's try and understand some background story behind this. On 21st of March 2023, the Uganda Parliament passed a bill criminalizing homosexuality in Uganda.
Be read the third time and do pass. Those in favor stand, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
The next day, the gate of hell opened. On 22nd of March, that is the next day, the US Secretary of State wrote this on Twitter. The Anti-Homosexual Act passed by the Uganda Parliament yesterday will undermine the fundamental human rights of Uganda and could reverse gain in fight against HIV, whatever. This tweet contained both warning and threat, which we will get to very soon in this video. For now, don't forget these three words: fundamental human right, because you will hear it again and again and again wherever United States want to oppress a country. Anyway, I think the same day or the next day, the White House press secretary said this.
The bill is one of the most extreme anti-LGBTQI+ laws in the world. Human rights are universal. No one should be attacked, imprisoned, or killed simply because of who they are or whom they love.
Pay attention to something here. As for this woman, homosexuality is not just a human right. It is a universal human right.
What does that even mean?
I think that is a brilliant question, by the way.
Who should define human rights?
Who should define human rights?
Difficult.
I mean, we have how many countries in the world? If you want to count Vatican City, is that 180 countries? So which country should define human rights? Because let's think about it. The country that defines human rights determines what human right looks like. For example, if you ask the British to define human rights, they will definitely not give us the same definition like Nigerians. So who should define human rights? Or better still, when does homosexuality becomes a human right? The word human right was introduced to English in 1831 through the work of the English philosopher Thomas Paine and the American journalist William Garrison. It then suggests to us that if in 2023 you say something is universal human right, maybe we should assume that such a thing has become fundamental human right or universal human right long time ago, maybe 1831, right? So the next question we have to answer is, how many countries in the world accepted homosexuality in 1831? You know the answer? None.
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 Let's move 100 years after then. Let's say 1931. How many countries do you think accepted homosexuality in 1931? Again, none.
Listen.
As of April 1952, the American Psychiatric Association diagnosed homosexuality as a sociopathic personality disturbance.
And what does that mean?
What does that mean?
It means in America, as at 1952, if you call yourself homosexual, then something is wrong with your brain. 1 year later, April 27, 1953, American president, this guy, signed a bill banning anybody who identify as homosexual from working for the federal government of America. Why? Well, the president, that is, American president, in 1953 says homosexuals are of national risk. They are of security risk to America. So think about that. Just yesterday, in 1953, America believed that if you are homosexual, it is because something is wrong with your brain. The same country did not allow you to work for the federal government of America because you are a security risk. Don't forget the question we are trying to find answer to, which is, if today America tells us that homosexuality is universal human right, when does it become so? Up to July of 1961, every single state, that is, all the 50 states in America, banned homosexuality. It was illegal everywhere in America. 1961. Here is a simple fact you need to think about. The year 2003, yesterday, 2003 was the first time in the history of America that the Supreme Court of that country ruled that homosexuality should not be criminalized anywhere in America, which means 2003 was the year America itself kind of accepted homosexuality. But guess what? Even after 2003, the battle for general acceptance or societal acceptance of homosexuality in America still continues. For example, on September 6, 2005, the California legislature passed a bill to allow same-sex marriage. You know what the governor did? This guy, well, he took that bill and vetoed it, trashed it to the dustbin. Don't forget the question we are trying to answer here, which is, when does homosexuality become a universal human right?
Wonderful. That is a most difficult question.
Listen to this. Listen to this. Up until September 20, 2011, you are not allowed in the United States to serve in the army and come to public to say, I am gay. It was an offense for a U.S. Army to publicly declare himself to be gay up until September 20, 2011. Again, the question is, when does homosexuality become a universal human right?
Impossible, because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
Yeah, you see, I have the answer to that question. And the answer is yesterday, when the US says so. Imagine there are two brothers. We call one James and the other one is John. These two brothers were raised by parents who taught them that there is no God. So they grew up to be atheists. However, last week Sunday, James woke up and announced that he was going to church. John asked him, why are you going to church? And James replied, yeah, I'm going to church because I now believe in God. Okay, no problem, you can go to church. But then, next morning, Monday morning, James came to John and demanded that John must follow him to church. John told him, like, guy, all your life, you have been an atheist like me. You just accepted God yesterday, and I have not seen the reason to believe there is a God. Then James says, no, you have to believe in God. In fact, you have to follow me to church now. And if you don't do that, that is against human rights. As ridiculous as the analogy I give you is, this is what is happening here. James here is America. America had killed, punished, and sent homosexuals to prison for hundreds of years. And just yesterday, Sunday, the US wake up and said, okay, for whatever reason, homosexuality is not a crime. Everybody should accept it. Then, the next day, which is today, the US demand that everybody in the world accept that as a universal human right. Universal. What is the meaning of universal? Something that is generally acceptable by everybody. This is not making sense. Does it make sense to you? It's not making sense to me, right? But then, anybody who says to United States, hey, okay, as for us, we are still thinking about it. We don't think you accepting God is the right thing. So let us figure it out ourselves. Whoever said that, then the US decided they deserve to be punished.
If the AHA is signed into law and enacted, it would impinge upon universal human rights, jeopardize progress in the fight against HIV/AIDS, deter tourism, and invest in Uganda and damage Uganda's international reputation.
What most people may not know is that long before this era, that is before 2023, Uganda has been under different sanctions just because of its stand against homosexuality. And even before this current bill was passed, different officials in the Uganda government have started receiving threats.
I got a lot of threats. I was intimidated. We are going to lose out of drugs of AIDS. AIDS is going to be cut off. Tourism, trade, export. I said, so what? That you're going to be blocked from going to America. Do I need to go to America?
Since 2014, when Uganda first came to public to say, no, in our own society, homosexuality is not acceptable, the United States had started punishing the country. And if you do a simple Google search, you are going to see the list of different sanctions that Uganda has received, not from the US alone, from different other countries, just because of its stance against homosexuality. Number one, that is from February of 2014. The United States prohibited individuals who are involved in homosexual rights abuse, that is, people who sponsor the bill in the legislature or whatever. These people are prohibited from entering the United States. Number two, United States redirected funds from Uganda Ministry of Health to other non-governmental organizations, NGO. If you are wondering what the Secretary of State of the US was saying at the beginning of this video, this is what it's saying, that is, the aid we are giving your people who are dying in the hospital or of aid, we will take it away from you. Number three, US relocated some public health institute they are planning to build in Uganda to other countries like South Africa. Number four, the US terminated some initiatives that supported Uganda communities. If you check this page, you can see the cost of all that. Number five, the US terminated the United States Africa Command, that is military aviation exercise between the US and the Uganda. Then if you scroll down on this page, you can read other sanctions from other Western countries. For example, Denmark, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, the World Bank. The list is here and you can see the amount. The World Bank, for example, diverted 118 million assistance fund to elsewhere. Then another $90 million, which happened to be loan coming from World Bank, was to be diverted. Many other Western donors turned their back to Uganda, and you can see all of that. In his 1942 book, Non-Violence in Peace and War, Mahatma Gandhi wrote, "A nation's culture resides in the heart and in the soul of its people," which essentially means when you talk about culture of a nation, you are talking about the belief system of the individuals in that country. So let me give you an example. Let's say there is a country that has 50 million people in it, and 49 million out of these 50 million believe that smoking cigarettes is a crime. It means in that society, you cannot make a law that supports smoking cigarettes because individuals in that society believe that smoking cigarettes is wrong. The same thing is applicable with countries like Uganda. This is a traditional Christian nation where most people individually believe that homosexuality is wrong. Yes, maybe you have a few people who are homosexual in that country, but that does not mean that country must be forced to accept what America believes in. Because if you look at the history of our world, what you will observe is that societies, different societies, have always had different belief systems, different ways of life. And if you are an outsider, it may be ridiculous to you, but to them, those people, it is just a normal thing. So let me give you an example. Between 17th century and 19th centuries in England, men were allowed to sell their wives.
Are you serious?
You heard me right. Let's say you got married in England in 1795 and 3 years after you are tired of your wife. England society allow you to take your wife to the market and sell her to another man. As crazy as that may sound to you now, the entire society practiced that for about 200 years. In France, people used to marry a dead person. Ridiculous, but it was accepted. In Israel, people used to get married or be married to 12 years old. 12 years old. In Nigeria, people used to kill their twin child. The point I'm making is this. All over the world, different societies always have things that other people don't think make sense. What we usually do is to look at these people who are different from us and hope that one day they will understand that we are right and they are wrong.
What is your message to Western human rights groups, to President Obama, to lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender people?
Respect African societies and their values. If you don't agree, you just keep quiet. Let's manage our society the way we see. If we are wrong, we shall find out by ourselves.
No, you are not allowed to find out anything by yourself anymore, because now there is a king of the world that determines what is right and wrong for everybody else in the world. This video will not make sense, at least for me, except I round it up by telling you the only reason why America or the Western world can continuously tell Africa what our culture should be or what we should believe, how we should live our life. The only reason is dependence. You see, as long as you depend on somebody else to finance your life. I have said this many times on this channel. That person is going to tell you how to live your life. The problem we have in Africa is we depend on America for aid, for loan, for this, for that, America and other Western countries. And that means these guys are going to tell us what our culture should look like, what we should believe, what our way of life should look like. And the only solution I see to this is independence. You see, I personally hate the idea of depending on somebody else. In my personal life, you know, I pursue independence for my personal life because I don't want anybody to tell me how to live my life. It has to be the same philosophy for African continent. We have to strive towards independence. We have to learn how to manufacture our things. We have to learn how to create wealth within our borders. We have to learn how to give our people job, because let me tell you this, one of the shameful things happening in our continent is our people running away from the continent, because it is still part of dependence. It's like a father who gives birth to too many children and now he cannot feed them. You have to send some of them out to other people. That is shameful. So until we as a people can create our economy, that creates our wealth, until we can create a system, a manufacturing process which manufacture what we need, until we can be self-sufficient and self-reliant till the point where we don't need the gods of this world, America, United Kingdom, and whatever, what you will see again and again is all these people accepting some nonsense. Then they come to us and ask us to accept it too. And because we depend on them, we have to say, yes, sir.